We are here. We are here. Welcome back to the Coach's Huddle. It's your boy, the coach, where the field meets family. And we made it, Jess. The first cover 2 episode after the season. Officially, the off season is here. We made it through a full year. We're closing off the Super Bowl game that was held in Santa Clara and Levi Stadium, the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. The game was 29-13. We saw it. We're going to get into it, among other things. But first off, how's my dog? How you doing, Jess?
I'm doing fantastic, Coach. I have a whole rant I want to go off on right now. I didn't even tell you about this because we were having some technical difficulties backstage. Golly, dude, I am so tired of our 49er brethren just bitching and crying and the excuses and I'm so over it, Coach.
I heard about it. I heard about it. I saw a snippet or two. I was in between meetings today myself. Monday was Mondaying, but I did see it, Jess. We have not talked, and I think we have the best shows when we don't, have like this huge conversation before the show. We kind of like burn all of our takes. But I have to ask you just off rip, what frustrated you the most with the fan base that made you put out that video?
This all really started last year during the playoffs. If you remember, every single time a quarterback played, it was like, well, I mean, this guy's supposed to be better than Brock, and look at how bad he's playing. It's like, all right, cool, but he's in the playoffs and Brock isn't because Brock didn't make the playoffs. But for some reason, it's like the whole thing. Like Jordan gets elevated to a whole different level because he never lost in the finals. And it's like, well, but losing in round 1 is somehow okay, but losing in the finals isn't. Like once you're there, you should win. There's a weird thing that we do as fans. So Brock not being in the playoffs was somehow a positive, even though other quarterbacks who had earned playoff spots didn't play very well. It was like a referendum on their whole career. Then now we do it again this year. 2 teams are in the Super Bowl. Neither of them are the 49ers. And it's like, well, did you see Vrabel and his play calls? Kyle Shanahan didn't get coach of the year over this bum. Or, Sam Darnold says he owes his whole career to Brock Purdy. And are you sure Drake May's better than Brock? Are you watching this game? It's like, what are we actually doing here? The 49ers aren't playing. They didn't earn a spot to be there. And for some reason, every game that doesn't involve the 49ers, no matter what, Super Bowl doesn't matter. It's like, well, we got to make it all about the 49ers. How can we elevate the 49ers and make them look better than what they are by tearing apart this coach, this player, this team? Oh, Seattle, they basically got a Mickey Mouse ring because they didn't have to face Mahomes twice. Like, get out of here with that. It's such a loser mentality. I'm so sick of watching it. It is horrific. And everybody that does it, if you do it, shame on you. It's bitch made. Everybody that's doing it, it's bitch made. There's no other way around it. That's all I can say.
Hey, I feel it. It's weak. We laugh at teams who do the same thing about our road to success. There are a lot of teams that we barked on for kind of poo-pooing our season that we had. There's a lot of teams that don't think we deserve to win 12 games this year, let alone be in the position that we were in with beating the Eagles on the road and going to the second game in the playoffs, the divisional round, that is. So I can see where you're coming from. From my perspective, though, I don't know, man. Like, Seattle's a strong team. They're balanced. They're young. They're well coached. The game was a bit of a snoozer for me. I think now one could say the game, because Seattle was that good, that's what made it that's what made it so anticlimactic. But for me, I want to talk about the gap. All right, this is what everybody was talking about literally after the season ended, especially how we lost. Let's just keep it 1,000. The Seahawks stomped a mud hole in our asses and they walked us dry, right? Emphatically. Not only that, but they really kind of gave us a precursor in the 13-3 loss that we had to them in week 18, but they just didn't really put their name on it. They didn't stamp it. But I want to know, after the season, there was a lot of conversations about, especially arguments that we've had about just how far the 49ers are away now, right? And I guess the question to you is, are the 49ers actually closer to an elite defense than we think, or is Seattle Super Bowl standard still miles away? Are, from what we saw with what Seattle displayed yesterday, is it completely a foregone conclusion that we just can't catch these guys, right? Losing to the Chiefs, it felt like you were close, but as you kept losing to them again and again and again, you start to, I don't know, you start to think like, do they have our number? Are we destined to beat these guys? And I guess I'm asking two types of questions. Has Seattle completely just shown that they are the class and that we can't catch up with them? And do they have our number?
I mean, they have our number as of now. The league, that's the great thing about the league, is every year is a new year. You don't know. We don't know what it's going to look like. Like next year, Seattle could have a ton of injuries. Seattle may not even be the cream of the crop next year. They might get passed by the Rams or whoever, whoever it may be. So for this season, the difference between the 49ers and the Seahawks, that gap was significant. What I will say is, I don't know who the cream of the crop's going to be next year, but the gap between this 49er team and whoever that is very significant. So that means the 49ers have to improve a lot this offseason, whether that's, through free agency, they got to find a way to stay healthy, draft, all of that. Like this was like the debate when we got into the whole super fan, fake fan, whatever the argument debate
That was
thing
epic.
was that we had.
That was epic.
It was really fun. But my whole point is the 49ers are going to have to be flawless this offseason if they want a chance to close that gap in one offseason. It can be done because they have some good players. Those players are aging. They're going to have to rely on them to be healthy, which is tough to say, but they're also going to have to hit on a ton of draft picks, their free agents, whatever. Right now, the gap is pretty significant, though. And it's hard for me to envision that, barring a ton of injuries that Seattle getting or something crazy happening, that they're not still significantly better than the 49ers next year. They have a ton of cap space. They're going to pick and choose who they want to sign. And I'll tell you, another team that worries me that's ahead of the 49ers is the Rams. What if they flip their 2 first-round picks and go get Max Crosby? They can do that.
True.
If Max Crosby's on the block, a first-round pick this year is worth more than a future first-round pick. So they're the one team that has the inside track to really go get Max Crosby if they so choose to do so. If they want to flip those 2 first-round picks plus a future something to go get Max Crosby, they can do it, and really it's not that much sweat off their back because they got an extra first-round pick from Atlanta. I think the gap in the NFC West right now is very significant, and it's going to take a lot of luck, a lot of falling back to the pack from the Rams and the Seahawks, and the 49ers having a damn near flawless offseason for it to be somewhat close, in my opinion, for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I see it differently. I don't think that this is the old league, man. I think the league has shifted. If you look at the Niners through the lens of like the Mount Rushmores of the NFL, right? So before, it was the juggernauts and everybody else. It was the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, Rams. You could throw them in there, and possibly maybe us, the Eagles, and the Cowboys, if you mix them in there, right? And I just don't think that that's the game anymore, where if you don't have an elite quarterback and if you don't have that guy that you can completely put it all on his shoulders, then you're not going to win. Don't look now, but teams with managed quarterbacks are winning the Super Bowl. Right? Like teams where they're not putting it all on their quarterback. They're putting a great defense behind them. They're putting a lot of bodies and a lot of talent around this guy. And they're basically saying that, we're a complete team. I think it's more important for the Niners to get younger. It's more important for us to get depth before we can start worrying about the core guys that are supposed to be able to be the tip of the spear. And quite frankly, it's not time yet. For lack of a better term, it's kind of like you got a tool that that you wouldn't want to discard it to go get the brand new shiny name brand stuff, but it's not time. You got to finish your breakfast. I think that the guys that we have here, yes, I the worst kept secret about this team is that the Niners need to redo their core. It's like, no shit. Like, we're gonna get older. That's what we have to do. I don't think that that's necessarily saying anything. Now, how we're gonna do it and what's gonna fall off first is a more fruitful conversation that I'm willing to have, right? And honestly, that leads me to my next topic, which is how we're gonna build the team throughout the offseason. Do the 49ers need to make major defensive line moves this offseason in free agency, or just rely on the draft, or is this just another patch-up job up front? So is this the time for us to make real positive moves on the defensive line? Are we supposed to go through draft? Do you want to go young? Or do you think that we need to be heavy practitioners in the free agency market?
I think the 49ers have to find a way to do both from a standpoint of not the draft and free agency, but I'm saying be young and talented, right? Which is really hard to do because they have like this bizarre 2-window thing going on where you've got the Trents, the CMCs, the Kittles that are all aging, the Juices, what have you, that are all aging, and they need to try to win a Super Bowl now this year because of those guys. They're gone soon. But then they have this other whole different team where it's like, yeah, Fred Warner's a little bit older, Bosa's a little bit older, but they can be good for another 3 or so seasons. And then you've got the Michael Williams and that whole, the Ricky Pearsalls and the Brock Purdy's and
Alfred
the Upton
Collins,
Stouts,
Malik
all these guys, right?
Mustafa. Yeah.
So it's like the guys that you get, you don't want them to be on the wrong side of 30. You want them to be 27 or younger in free agency, and then obviously talented, or you just got to build through the draft. Like, I don't want them to say, hey, let's go get an edge rusher. Let's go get Trey Hendrickson, who's 32 years old. I think that would be a mistake, right? But if there's a young edge rusher that is known that can be dominant or very good opposite of Bosa for the next few years, 3 to 5 seasons, then you can go get that guy. So whoever that is, whether that's you do that through free agency or you do that through the draft, you got to figure that out. But you cannot go get aging good players and just spend a ton of money. The Javon Hargraves, whoever that is, Trey Hendrickson, you can't get those players anymore. You have to stay young and keep both. You have 2 masters that you have to serve here. You have 2 masters, and that has to be done however you see fit. I honestly really haven't dove deep into free agency outside of a few players when I was kind of looking at things to set up my last show with the 49ers or what they should do with their own roster. That's kind of the future. But right now, I highly doubt that there's going to be a lot of great young defensive linemen through free agency. You're probably going to have to get that through the draft.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to believe that free agency moves are for teams that are trying to expound upon like a position that they already have. Like we were trying to hold a Super Bowl window, like a young and upcoming team that's made a lot of rodents, like a Washington 2 years ago, where they found themselves in a great position in the postseason, and they want to expound upon that with a young quarterback and tons of money to burn. So they were crazy in free agency, or a team like the Bears, right, where you get into Ben Johnson and you completely need to overhaul your team, right? So money is no object. There's a blank check. Bring in the bodies, because not only are you trying to get a team, but you're trying to build a culture as well. There are some guys that are out there that I don't want. I don't want Eric Kendricks. I don't want a big name of somebody else's pick. I got one else for you. I don't want Max Crosby. I don't want the entire defense to be lynched around Max Crosby and Nick Bosa's health, because that's what it's all going to be about. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
in a perfect world, we're going to be loving the scenario of having them both as bookend edge rushers, and it's going to be great. But the reality is that they're barely going to play together, right? They're not going to get on the field at the same time. If we have emergence with other players where we need to figure out the best rotations that have certain guys on there, we're already strapped because there's money on the field as far as you need to have those two guys on the field at all times. So and on top of it, what we would have to give up to get them. I don't think we're in a position to trade for anybody, right? Let alone get somebody in free agency. I do believe that sticking with the draft is a two-pronged initiative, in that we're getting younger, we're building depth, but also we're working on something that we got to grind some organs with, because we are not that consistent with hits in the draft. So you're not going to get better not drafting, right? That's one thing that that my philosophy around the narrative with the Niners are not really good at drafting. They don't have as many hits. John Lynch is a problem. Well, you still need to draft, though. So what are we going to do as far as drafting is concerned, right? Now, building this team, I've heard you say it. I've heard Grant say it. I've heard a lot of people walk out and, be prisoners of the moment. Not you, but prisoners of the moment, and understanding just, who just won the Super Bowl. And, one thing that I love about the league is that whoever wins the Super Bowl, in a way, it's not written anywhere, it's not official, but in a way, the team that wins the Super Bowl, everybody low-key adopts their philosophy, right? It's like, all right, the Chiefs kept winning Super Bowls. It was all about, you got to go get a quarterback. You got to go find a guy, because there's no way that you're going to be any iteration of what the Chiefs give you as long as they have Patrick Mahomes as a common denominator. Now, with the Eagles winning the year prior and Seattle winning now, it's really about loading up your roster. It feels as though that the league has almost kind of veered towards what we were doing when we were trying to prove that a complete team could win a championship without that all-world quarterback. So as we're building our team, I guess the next question that I have for you is the offseason about closing the gap with Seattle specifically, or accepting that the 49ers need a broader defensive reset to compete with the league's elite? Is this about Seattle? Should they be our true North Star? Or do we need to just keep doing us?
I think we should do exactly what we need to do. We can't have blinders on and build around beating one team, because again, that team can switch from year to year. But what I want to say is, I was just looking at free agency pretty in depth when you were talking. There's no savior out there.
There's nothing.
Like the guy, they don't exist. And the best players that I'm talking about are exactly who I don't want. 32, 33, 34-year-old guys. Like, that's not the way to win long term. The 49ers need to do both. So I even looked at, like, let me look at Atlanta's defense and their free agents, because we're probably going to pluck a guy or two from there. There's not many free agents on that whole defense. So that's probably not going to work either. What's interesting is these teams that have won the Super Bowl the last 2 years have done it built around the trenches. Like, that is the primary thing, right? And we know that that's tried and true and has always worked in football. You can always be competitive if you can win in the trenches.
If you can control the line of scrimmage.
And especially on that defensive line right now, you look at the waves that the Eagles sent players at Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl, the waves that the Seattle Seahawks sent players at Drake May. They literally took the 49ers blueprint, 2019 blueprint, and just did it the exact same way, and it happened to work for them and didn't work for the 49ers, right? And we can talk about that, multitude of different reasons, whatever, but they just took the same blueprint, and the 49ers were so close with that blueprint. The difference is that both of those teams do it on both the offensive and defensive line. The 49ers tend to just do it on the defensive line. And ironically, even though they've put so many assets into the defensive line in particular, they're very thin along the defensive line somehow, some way. I mean,
because they
asset
had misses
after asset. Too many misses. Too many misses. They're
hold
always
on.
chasing their tail.
Let's go through it.
Yeah.
They didn't have. We're not talking about. It's not just misses, Jesse. It's malfeasance.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is where we're going to be on the same page. DeForest Buckner is not a miss. All right. That's a bad decision. Choosing Eric Armstead over DeForest Buckner. Getting Nick Bosa is not a miss. All right. But bringing in a Javon Hargraves, that's horrible. All right. The Drake Jackson pick, that ain't it. All right. Living off of high-end picks, high-end has-been picks, and bringing them in a Cleveland Farrell, a Charles Omenihu, a Sam Ekubom, who else is my boy? A Cleveland, not Cleveland Farrell, but Arden Key. Bringing those guys, you can't really live off of that. We haven't had a true bookend guy on the other side of Nick Bosa since his entire career, quite honestly. We tried to do it immediately with D Ford. That was a miss. All right. And what really has hurt us is not the lack of pass rush, but the USDA beef, bro. The bodies, the size, the ability to not get pushed around in the run game. We just don't have mass on the defensive line anymore. Those are the problems, right? And to be real with you, you don't have to hit, all right? But the defensive line can't be an afterthought, all right? We can't really think that. Did we really think Malik Collins was going to do anything for us, man? Come on, bruh. You know, that ain't it. So my biggest issue is that they haven't had the opportunity to make the trenches front and center a priority because we kind of been building a glorified 7-on-17. Kind of, you know, to be honest with you, we put all our money in our receivers and our skill guys. We got one lineman that actually gets paid on the offensive line. We got one defensive lineman that actually gets paid.
Ironically, our skill guys suck now too, though. It's like receivers
really,
buns. They're so buns. And Buckner and Armstead were the previous regime, by the way. So yes, they made the wrong decision on the Buckner Armstead thing, but they didn't even draft either of those guys. They were from the previous regime.
And that's why they made the wrong decision, because they didn't draft them. And they were flipping with it. I didn't like it at all. But look, what they got to do is they got to go get more picks. They got to get more guys. I mean, early on, I'm looking at defensive line in the first round, bro. Like, you have to get the talent. You can't piecemeal your way to a certain level on defense and then just completely rely on the X's and O's and the coaching side of the game. That's where we're starting to kind of get bodied when we play teams, is that it's really not even the X's and O's anymore. It's that other thing. It's that game thing. It's that I'm going to put my hands on your ass thing, where we are getting out physicaled. It's no mistake that the last two teams that have won Super Bowls came in with the biggest offensive line in Super Bowl history in the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? And then you come in with the number one defense in that nasty-ass, tenacious offensive line that they brought in with Seattle. I'm telling you, man, the old school way of winning games is in. Or at the very least, you get the impression that they're saving that stuff for the end of the season to let boys really play. But either way, we don't have it. That's the biggest thing. So I don't like the narrative of us chasing Seattle. Why? Nah, Seattle just happens to be going in the same direction that we want to go. All right. And really, if you look at what the Rams did year after year, they went and got offensive line. They went and got Jared Verse, Braden Fisk in one draft. Then you look at Seattle. They turn around and go get Gray Zabel. They got that big tackle Cross. You know, they handle business on the offensive line with Sundell at center. I love their Alexander Lucas pickup, right? So for them, they went out and piecemeal together. It's only 5 positions, bro. You can turn around a trenches situation on the team in an offseason, but you just got to care. You truly got to care.
That's the thing. We only have 7 picks this year, though, too. That's rough.
All right.
Not a lot.
Okay. But you got to, this is my thing. You got to commit. And you have to own the situation. Presently constructed, I would not be mad at the offensive Niners, the 49ers offensive line coming in. We need a new center. We need a new center. That's huge.
And left guard.
Slow your roll. Beggars can't be
Burford's a free
choosers.
agent. I'm just saying.
Beggars can't be choosers. I get it, but I don't know what they're going to do at left guard. But at the end of the day, we absolutely need a new center. And as far as the defense is concerned, I think that it will be crazy for us to look for pass rushers. Pass rushers are becoming like receivers in today's league. You can find them. They're around. Our biggest issue is the interior. We need somebody to be able to not only play opposite of Alfred Collins, but we need a true nose tackle because with Raheem Morris coming in with the 33, we need a zero tech, right? So moving forward into how we're going to get these things done, we had a little bit of, a bit of honesty, clarity from Coach Shanahan. Kyle was doing some commentary and some media work for the Super Bowl crew for NBC, and he said quite a few things. Number one, he had already let out that he knows that he hasn't even scored a touchdown on these dudes. He talked about his offensive statistics against this team. He was saying it in jest, but he also was speaking a little bit of truth. Kyle was very honest. If you think about just what he sees in Seattle as a team, if I got to be honest with you, if I was a part of 49ers media, I'd be a little ticked off. I'm like, oh, so now you get on national television to start telling the truth and speaking about how you really feel about a team. We can't ever get this shit out of you on a weekly basis. But I don't know. There's some people that think that this is a smoking gun to Kyle really showing some mental barriers on being able to get around this team. And some people just feel like that it was just Kyle being honest, letting his hair down, and could be, there's nothing wrong with being self-deprecating in a media space. But I guess the question is what does it say about the 49ers when Kyle can openly admit that he hasn't figured out the Seahawks defense yet? How did that ring out to you?
I actually thought it was endearing. I mean, I like that he admitted it, and he took a jab at himself, right? He made himself look human, and it is opposite of what we see in front of the local media. That's for sure. We don't ever see that version of Kyle, and it sucks because it's like the self-deprecating, funny Kyle. Like, if we saw that, I think he would be a lot more likable, right? He would be somebody that we could actually maybe all get behind, because it's like nobody denies that Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. But the biggest gripe that I've always had with Kyle and this regime is he doesn't bring us along for the ride. He's got a us versus them mentality, and them is the fan base sometimes, because he doesn't look at the media as an extension of the fan base. All they're doing is asking questions that we want to know answers to. And so when you act like a jerk because you got a tough question asked to you and you're like, yeah, but that's me. I want to know the answer to that question. Like, these are questions that we want answered. And so you're really just kind of slapping the fan base in the face a little bit, whether intentionally or not, right? And when you do things like, hey, we want to limit who can show up to the off-season workout programs and joint practices, and we want to rotate the configuration of the field so that you can't see things, and all of that stuff is like, man, that's whack shit. It's so whack. But when you see Kyle do this, like, oh, well, it's there a little bit. Like, you can bring us along for the ride. Versus, when you're not winning or you choke in a Super Bowl, it's like, of course, everybody's going to be at your neck because they're waiting for that opportunity. But if you're self-deprecating, we can get behind that. So anyways, I did enjoy it. I really did. Back to the free agency thing real quick, though. I keep going back there. I'm looking at free agents, okay? Where the 49ers can get better through free agency, and that should probably be the plan, is the offensive line. You can go get a center and a guard and
Linderbaum
in free agency. Everybody's saying that. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. Like, we got to get it. Linderbaum is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If he doesn't stay with the Ravens, he's going to end up with the Giants. His old coach is there or whatever. However, I do have two realistic names that you could go get that I think could be difference makers. One is Elijah Vera Tucker, who's 26 years old. He's going to be 27 next year. He was a first-round pick. He can play tackle and guard. I like the versatility there. That's number one. And then at center, Connor McGovern's out there for the Buffalo Bills. He's 28 years old. He's a bigger body guy. Between those two, you can kind of revamp the offensive line on the fly a little bit. So I'm just throwing it out there. There are names, and it doesn't have to be the names that I said. There are other guys that are out there that are in their mid to late 20s that can be good for 4, 5, 6 years because it's offensive line that you can go get in free agency. You can revamp the offensive line in one off season through free agency and then spend your assets on defensive line, wide receiver, all those things in the draft, the 7 picks you have. And you really could kind of revamp this on the fly a little bit. So just throwing it out there. But back to Kyle Shanahan. Yes, I thought it was endearing. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to bring up this comment because I like the tenacity that Kyle has. Dude, he has that attitude because you guys shit on him every chance you get real. All right, so let's kind of level set real quick. Kyle makes $14 million fucking dollars a year. Okay, 14 of them bitches. All right, he can't answer some normal questions, my dude. When shit's going wrong, when we're asking him to bring up the obvious, you know what Kyle said yesterday? Kyle said, I don't know how the fuck to stop these dudes, man. I can't even fucking score a touchdown on them. No shit. That's all we wanted to hear. It wasn't that big. It wasn't rocket science. Dog, the gymnastics, all of the conniptions, the shifting in his seat, the exhaling, the eye rolling, just because you get asked serious questions that, dare I say, a little self-awareness, a little accountability, there's nothing wrong with that, bro. That's all we're saying. We're not asking Kyle to give us the plays of the game or the game plan of what was done all the time. But you got to be honest, bro. Like, I rock with Kyle, but he does not make it easy, bro. He doesn't. He's not endearing, all right? And there's a lot about what he does that hurts him. You got to own that. You got to own that. And honestly, if none of that was true, then we wouldn't be noticing when he is affable and when he is self-deprecating and when he is sometimes open to the room. Because there's other coaches that have won that still do it. Even Bill Belichick has a personality. If Bill Belichick has a personality, nobody should fucking be should be uptight. All right, I'm moving on.
No, I mean, we did this last offseason. Was it last offseason? The offseason before, where we read articles like, this isn't new to the 49ers. Like, this attitude, this my shit doesn't stink attitude goes way back. You can read articles from when he was with the Falcons, when he was with the Texans, when he was with the Redskins at the time, the Browns. Like, there are articles talking about how arrogant he is. Like, this is not new to the 49ers. He's not doing this because Jesse and Coach are on a Monday night YouTube channel shitting on Kyle. Like, exactly. Like, come on. You either think too highly of us or you don't understand it all, or probably both, that Kyle Shanahan has been this way. Listen, I'll give you an example. And this is why people talk about Harbaugh still. Harbaugh had the who's got it better than us. He brought the fans along with it. Kyle Shanahan in the locker room has literally a sign that's basically like,
us versus
shut
them.
up. Us versus them. Shut up against. I forget how the sign is worded, but it's in the locker room. It is there, and it's basically like protect each other against the media at all costs. It's team versus everybody. Like, that's the mentality he has. I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. I'm just saying when you have that mentality and you don't win rings, people are going to be harder on you. They just are. It's natural.
Yeah, look, man, nobody gets a pass, bro. Nobody gets a pass. And to be real, I don't know where this dude is from, but I'm an East Coast cat. I've been following sports and been in the sports like world out on this side. Dude, you got to have tougher skin, man. This is one of the most emotional fan bases I have ever been a part of, bro. Honestly. Like, as far as just like how we protect and hold on to our guys. And I get it. It's endearing how we hold on to Steve Young and hold on to the players and Coach Wall. I get all of that. That's awesome. But, dude, 9 to 5, getting on there, working your ass. Go ahead.
Just so that we know that I'm not just talking out of my ass. Here's an article right here from, let me see what the year, February 7th, 2017. You ready for this? Talking about how he must change when he becomes a head coach. Multiple NFL coaches from other teams called the play calling, talking about the Falcons' Super Bowl loss, somewhere between an unnecessary risk and arrogant stupidity. People who know Kyle, this is a quote, direct quote, will all tell you that he's arrogant, said an executive of an NFC team. He talks down to people and he doesn't listen. He thinks that he knows better than anybody else, and he likes to prove that. That executive and two coaches from other NFL teams said Monday that Shanahan simply tried too hard at a time when it was unnecessary. They also said that it's a common trait. It's a common trait of his. Bro, this is 2017 before he's even the 49ers full head coach. Like, what are we doing? This isn't an us thing. He's been this way. He's viewed this way. He's acted this way for a long time. It took me 14 seconds on Google to find it. Like, do some research, man.
Yeah, y'all can't flip this shit like it's these pesky, dastardly content creators. Like, nah, dog, it ain't that deep. It's really not. You know what I'm saying? It's just really just sitting back like anybody else and assessing a character. You don't got to be even a psychiatrist to go through this stuff, really. Good on them. On the flip, to the contrary, I do believe that all of that stuff that we talked about, especially the momentum that precedes him coming into being a head coach, like all of that other stuff of being just like hell on wheels as a coordinator, the PowerPoint presentation in Cleveland. I mean, dude, we could do this all day. I will say that this season, I did love the way Kyle coached the team. I liked how Kyle spoke to the media. And in a sense, I'm real enough to say that some of the under the cloak stuff that he does, like the super hyper anal retentive stuff that he does, in a sense, I do understand it from a coaching perspective, you know. Speaking about how arrogant he can be at times, I knew that he was trying to prepare us for what type of season we were getting when he let us know, like, yo, we're gonna look different in week 12. We're not gonna be the same team. Even that coming from Kyle let me know that he was concerned. The way they rolled out a training camp, they had minimal exposure, let us see barely anything, didn't know what the hell was going on during camp. You could tell that they were circling the wagons early. So listen, he's growing, 10th year's a charm. Let's see if we can get another year out of him for some good coaching. But I do believe that there's a lot that Kyle gained from this season that he can carry on into the next. That's good. I will say is that I know that he's very emotionally attached to this. It did surprise me. I don't know if this stuck out to you or not, but he doesn't watch the last game of the season or the Super Bowls or the playoff games until the very day before he sees the players again for camp. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's odd. I
don't know. Maybe it's just how he gets himself going. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Definitely. All right, man. So let's get into another topic. Jed York. Jed York had a CSNBC interview with some guy, and we got to figure out who this guy's name is, but it was eye-opening. There was a lot of questions that went around about his tenure, and even in the interview, they went as far as to chronologically go over Jed York's tenure as an owner, not just with the San Francisco not just with Kyle Shanahan, but a lot of different things. I'm gonna go over some of the juiciest moments of the interview. Jesse, you just cut me off and fire back whenever you find anything. Yeah. But there were a couple of questions. We went back into the Harbaugh era, and one of the biggest things is he takes the lion's share of the blame for the Jim Harbaugh fallout. He acknowledged that Jim had more success after leaving. He basically admitted that the Harbaugh firing was a mistake, and he used these words: "I messed this up. I wasn't ready, and it cost us years." There was also an instance in the interview where the interviewer pressed him hard on keeping Balky over Harbaugh. He also admitted that he can't really defend it. The part was really uncomfortable. He said, in hindsight, you kept the wrong guy. Jed York acquiesced and said, yes, there's no justification for that decision. He also admits that one of the reasons why Coach Harbaugh and him didn't work out, Jed York that is because they didn't have a personal relationship or one that was as close as he would have liked to have been. He quoted Bill Parcells saying that, I'll tell you how good a franchise is by the distance between the owner and the head coach. I got to be honest, that's the first time I've ever heard that. But he said that to segue in with his relationship with Kyle. One thing he also said is that Kyle answers directly to him and no one else. But he also talked about just how close and how good of a relationship that him and Kyle have. He wishes that he had that closest with Jim that he has with Kyle. And before he went into a couple of things, he went into the draft. The interview, he called out the draft. He said that Jed, they haven't really gotten the right guys. Outside of Brock Purdy, there was only one Pro Bowl picked player in the 6 drafts. And Jed didn't push back. He ultimately hid behind winning and losing games. He kind of like diverted into the records when he started talking about the drafts. But he basically said that that's an indirect shot at the player evaluation and that Jed needs to land it there. And Jed just kind of like plainly looked him in the face. They also touched on the Brandon Ayuk contract. Jed, he straight up admitted that the Brandon Ayuk contract was a bad return on investment. I thought that was very odd when explaining Brandon BA's contract and his tenure here. Jed, it was a personal interview, but when it came to Brandon, Jed chose to go like high level. He went like 10,000 foot view. He started talking about like stocks and bonds and, you got to go. We put money in a place that didn't give us impact in our KPI. I'm like, oh, Jed, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, you didn't, it was a bad deal. You didn't like the deal. He also, they touched on the substation situation, which I found hilarious, and he shut it down flatly. He basically called the idea nonsense. He said that stop blaming the building. It's not a big deal. He said that he's not looking into it. He's moving on. He poo-pooed that. And another thing that stuck out is he openly said that free agency is overrated. He said spending money to spend money doesn't help. He prefers trades and targeted impact moves and suggests fans overvalue splashy signings over tried and true maneuvers. And lastly, they framed the ownership. He's framed his own ownership, Jed, that is, as up and down, and he accepted the premise. One thing I'll say is that he knows the outside view of him has been shaky. I think that Jed is very keen of how people feel about him, and he just seems to be locked in lockstep with Kyle right now. What did you think about the interview?
Well, first of all, he definitely was uncomfortable at times and tried to get pretty combative. He said for him, he was basically asked, like, is it a business venture or are you trying to win games? What's most important to you? He's like, oh, well, winning's the most important thing. It's like, is it though? So he said that winning was the most important. He was asked if Kyle and John being hired together and basically being a package deal, if they could ever be separated, meaning if the drafts aren't good and haven't been good, that, maybe you should look at letting John Lynch go and keeping Kyle Shanahan. And to your point, he tried to like skirt that question and was like, oh, well, the drafts have been fine. And he's like, not really.
Not
over
really.
Over the last 6 years, you've gotten Brock Purdy, and that was kind of a lucky pick. And he fixated on the Brock Purdy pick. He's like, well, it wasn't lucky. And he's like, kind of is. It was the last pick in the draft. And he's like, we had a 3rd round grade on him. He goes, then why didn't you take him in the 3rd round? And he's like, oh, well, I mean, it's like, oh, okay. So, yeah, you got kind of lucky there.
You know what I loved about this interview is that the guy interviewing him is a professional, right? But you could tell he has no dog in the fight. with sports. Like, he's a
Didn't care.
finance guy. So you could tell that he was asking him questions like, I don't give a fuck about this interview. Yeah, so I'm hearing you're fucking up the team over there. So talk to me about it.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care about my reputation. I'm in finance, buddy. You got the wrong guy. So that's what I loved about it, is that he went straight at him.
Super funny. He did, and he kept pulling and pulling and pulling. I thought overall it was interesting. To me, like, Jed's shown growth in some areas, but he's just as bad in others. Read the room. The substation thing is a real funny litmus test, because it doesn't matter what Jed York thinks. It doesn't matter what you or I think. Our personal opinions mean nothing when it comes to this. Is it something in the player's eyes? And when you listen to interviews, not only with 49ers players, and you listen to interviews with players that are not with the 49ers, it's being looked at as like a real thing or a real possibility, which means you've got a problem on your hands. It doesn't matter if you think it's a conspiracy theory. It matters what the players think, the guys that have to sign here, the guys you're going to try to, and the fact that you are basically passing it off like it's stupid and anybody who believes it is an idiot. You're basically just like telling all these guys that have said this now that their opinion means nothing. Why would they even meet with you? You're cutting your nose off and spite your face. It's like, you got to play the game, Jed. You're the owner of the team. It doesn't matter what you personally think. What do they think? And they think it's an issue. And I also want to bring it back to Fred Warner, who's like Mr. CEO Fred Warner, the same guy that they ran out there when they traded Trey Lance. It's really funny.
Wild.
He's like,
yeah.
They basically ran him out there on the substation thing. He's like, yeah, we don't think it's a big deal. And, it's not really talked about in the locker room. A day after Kendrick Bourne's like, yeah, no, we talk about it all the time.
We talk about that shit all the time.
Oh, come on. What do you mean it's not talked about? Are you kidding me? Like, what are we talking? So it's funny. They can't get their story straight on this one. But ultimately, yeah, listen, Jed is better than what he was before, for sure. But it is pretty clear that he's not going to ever fire Kyle. Like, the contract may run out and we'll see what happens, which is interesting that he's got 2 years left. John Lynch has one. But he doesn't want to make the same mistake again. That much is clear.
That's why I think that it may be time. The rubber is going to meet the road when it comes to Jed, because that's the real conversation. And it's a boring conversation. It has nothing to do with football. It's not anything that we can tangibly grab onto. We can't monitor it. So I understand why, this conversation is way too big to be bringing on YouTube. But the facts is that Jed just does not want to fail. He doesn't want to look bad in front of his family. And he's had some blunders, and his relationship with Kyle, I don't think that it's healthy. I think that it's weird that he's always talking about how close him and Kyle are. He never misses an opportunity to even remotely look like the owner. It's like, you just want to be buddies all the time, bro. Like, help me out with this. What owner was like this?
He's like, I don't know, but he's like the parent that wants to be the cool parent. It's like, I don't really want to discipline my kids. I just want to, be friends with them. It's like, well, that dynamic doesn't work. It just doesn't. You're the parent. You're the owner, Jed. You can't just be best friends with your coach, because there might be a time that you got to hold him accountable. I'm not even saying to fire him. I'm just saying at some point you might have to have a tough conversation. It's like, buddy, you're on the hot seat. Like, you got to do something here. Or, hey, you know what? I saw this interaction. I don't like that interaction. You need to handle things different. It could be the simplest thing, but it's really hard to hold somebody accountable that you consider not only a friend, but you kind of look up to him low key. It's almost like he looks up to Kyle and almost bows down to Kyle as if Kyle's his boss. It's really weird, man. It's really
very
weird.
I don't get it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. But let's get into we got some housekeeping to do. We got some super chats. We got one more topic before we go out of here, and we got to do sleeper. What do you want to do first? Yeah. Our last topic.
Let's do some sleeper real quick. Let's knock this out.
All right. Let's go. Let's get some sleeper going. Sleeper. You want to go the sleeper or the picture sleeper?
Picture sleeper. So I want to talk about something. So
let's talk about it.
As you know, Sleeper is the fastest growing fantasy football app out there. or fantasy app out there, and you can do more or lesses with your player picks and what have you. Sleeper is just taking it to a whole new level. So,
Bam!
LS promo code LSS. Link is pinned to the top of the description. You still get your free $20 entry, right? You still can do your player props, but Coach, why don't you show my screen real quick? This right here, it's a whole new level.
Let's get it.
We got future picks now, so I can pick yes or no on the players that are going to be picked first in the draft. I can do future champion picks. Seattle. Let's see. What are the 49ers odds at? Here we go. Hold on. Let me find them. 49ers. If I pick them, yes, I 12 times my money. Boom. I'm going to submit that. Oh, I got to add my email here real quick. But I can submit that, pick the 49ers for a future champion, and even better, if I go to teams here and I go to like NBA, I can pick actual teams that are going to win that game along with the players. So I can pick against the spread. I can pick the over-unders. I can pick flat out who's going to win, and I can pick the players within that game. Sleeper has expanded in a huge way. So you can meet all of your needs. I know some people are like, oh, I don't like to do the daily fantasy because I don't get to pick over-unders. I don't get to pick the team winners. I don't get future placements on players or props. It's all there within Sleeper. Huge win by them. Massive win, actually. So check them out. Promo code LSS. Get a free $20 play. If you want to go put a future in on the 49ers, you can do so for free. You put $20 in, you'll win $225 if they win the Super Bowl next year. I think it's a no-brainer. All you got to do is use promo code LSS. Download Sleeper. Link is pinned to the top of the description. All right, let's get to some supers, bro.
I like it, man. You hit us with the line, though. You could trade us. You could fade us. Come on, man. Hit me, bro.
Oh. You can tail us or you can fade us, but either way, use promo code LSS.
That's my shit. That's what. See, I like that. That's where we on the same thing. We on the same page. Hey, so look, we got to be able to get into this last topic. I've been seeing it come up, and I went to check on it just to make sure that we weren't tripping. But hold on. Here we go. Let's get it, Jesse. This is unfortunate, but we got to cover it because injuries is what we do. Right now, Keion White has been shot in the ankle during a post-Super Bowl event in San Francisco. He's expected to be okay. An investigation is ongoing, though Keion White is not believed to have been involved in the altercation on Monday. So that even sucks. It sounds like he was an innocent bystander. The San Francisco 49ers defensive lineman Keion White was shot in the ankle during an event Monday morning. White was shot at 4:06 in the morning. That's God's hour. On the 17th block of Mission Street in San Francisco. A San Francisco police spokesman said via The Atlantic. Was that you, David Lombardi?
Athletic, yeah.
Athletic, sorry. There was an altercation between two groups that broke out at an event there that led to the shooting. Those specifics of that incident are not yet known. White is not believed to have been a part of the altercation, though he was shot in the ankle. He was taken by police to a nearby hospital and is expected to be okay. Well, good Lord, Jesse, we can't catch a break for nothing, bro. Can't catch a break.
No.
I hope he's all right.
We definitely can't catch a break for nothing. Yeah, that one's tough. Here's what I will say. I get it. He wasn't involved directly in the altercation. Why the hell are you out at 5 a.m? Like, nothing good happens that late, bro. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. I was always told this when I was younger, and I feel like this rings true. The only thing good that happens after midnight is that you get home safe, which is supposed to happen anyways. Like, that's it, right? There's always riffraff happening at 2, 3 in the morning. Usually nothing good is going on. So I'll just say that. But yeah, it sucks, man. I'm glad that he wasn't directly involved. I'm glad we don't have a, James Pierce incident on our hands. My God, dude. And the Rams got an extra first-round pick for that guy. That's crazy.
Son, so, I mean, I think he's done. Like, yeah, like
Bro, he was like running police off the road. Like, what are we talking about?
I wanted that guy. Jesus Christ. The more you know. All right, let's get
Yeah.
some super chats out of the way. Breathe EX2, $5. Thank you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The league isn't ahead of us. The Seahawks are just built in a way that counters us perfectly. I mean, they have some of our coaches on staff. I will say this though, what Coach McDonald is doing on defense for the Seahawks, being able to stay in that two-man shell and still be able to stop the run with those young guys flying around underneath, that is a problem. All right, that's a
Brother,
schematic issue.
it's a
You can't get around that.
copycat league. It's a copycat league, and if Seattle is built a certain way to beat us, or they coach a certain way to beat us, that will be picked up on by other teams. It just will be.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of it's going to be coming down to that dog safety, that rover that can do everything, that safety that
Kyle
you can bring down in the box.
Hamilton's and Nicky Manwari's.
Yes. Yeah, that safety that can shadow your tight end. He can come down in the box and still be a dime linebacker, and he can go in the slot and cover. So
I don't know if you saw the breakdown of Mike McDonald's defense a few years ago when he was with the Ravens. There was a breakdown that just came out. He's always going to be really, really tough to stop no matter what because of the way he runs his defense, man. It's so unique. It's so unique. He basically gives guys free reign to blitz whenever they want based off of the alignment or based off of how the offensive linemen go. So it's like you may not even be showing blitz, but you see an offensive lineman block a certain way and you're firing because you get autonomy to do so on the fly, basically. So you basically, there are no tells with the defense because they are doing everything based off of what is being shown to them mid-play. It's pretty insane, actually, what he's doing.
Yeah. One of the biggest things on that defense too is that that's a defense that's not going to see a lot of good offensive lines that are going to run north and south on them. You got to get them out that two-man shell. I get all of that stuff that they're doing over there, and it's awesome. But the facts are is that his style of defense is leveraging against a style of football. That's what that is. And I think that, you're going to come out that shit if we can run the ball, right? So it is, X's and O's is cool, but I'm in the Jimmys and Joes. We got to get guys that bring the scheme to life because he can sit back in there and have all of these pretty rules and edicts with that defense all he wants. But if he don't have no dogs, if you don't have a freak of an athlete at two, he's got two really good safeties. These aren't average safeties, right? Nicky Manwari is a very unique chess piece to put on the field. So, look, we got to get bodies. That's my biggest thing. X's and O's is cute, but we need ball players. Josier Von Jinks, thank you, 2 months. Remember, Niners need to draft the best available at every pick. I mean, it's literally what I just talked about. Deshaun DeVoe, sorry, my boys. We have a philosophy of just being good enough, not to be good enough. All right.
We're close, but
yeah. Kenson G, Coach, you my dog, bro. Always keeping it 100. You too, Jesse. On another note, you got to check it out. That Drewski short about the Vikings pissed about letting Darnold walk.
I'll check it out. I have to see this.
Smells like a foot in here. I like that name. I hope that Kyle's lasting legacy at SF isn't they were so good. Why couldn't they win the big game? Me too. But we already sometimes coaches that we need to change of pace. I don't think that we're there yet at all with the Niners, but we'll see. FM Antenna, I like the tenacity.
We already got that one. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, that's your dog. Dazza 0187. Offensive line.
I like how you threw that in there.
You like
that's my guy. Yeah. Perfect.
That's your man. So offensive line definitely needs a major upgrade, but May was under more pressure than Purdy was in either of the last two Seahawks games. And May scored more points in a quarter than Purdy in 2 games against Seattle. True. I mean, Drake May I think Drake May is a promising guy, promising prospect, young guy,
for sure.
Amazing sophomore campaign, but the playoffs is a different ballgame. This was not just, dude, it was 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they had thrown for like 18, 25 yards, bro. Like, it was bad, bro. It was bad, bro.
That defense is nasty, bro. That defense was
nasty. That defense, bro. right? Like, look at what that defense was doing to the Patriots. What was it, 9-0 at half?
Yeah,
What was
9-0. Yeah,
it was
9-7.
9-0 at half. If you play with a offense that's just competent, all right, the Seahawks it's a completely different ballgame. You feel for the Patriots because you felt like that there was never a time where they dominated the game. They were just kind of holding on. They were giving their best, what they had. But Seattle just they know what they have and they understand how to administer it, meaning that run game ain't going to work in the first quarter, but it'll work in the fourth if you keep running, right? So they just wear you down, bro. Herbie Holland 5,800, F Shanahan, file Shanahan now. That's the
Wow.
least likely take that's going to hit right now. Herbie Holland 5,800. So now McVay and McDonald, Seattle, and the Rams had Super Bowls before Shanahan. File Shanahan now. Fire Shanahan. Fire Shanahan. Dude, it ain't happening, bro. It's not happening. Corey Wiggs 4994. Dream offseason would be Ed Ingram, Cade Mays, and Zion, and draft Zion Young and Zachariah Branch. I love Zachariah Branch. I love that pickup. I think we should be able to get him. We need speed, bro. George Laramie, 5391. Hey, Kyle, Shannon has to be on the hot seat. The dude in Seattle, it took him 2 years. He already got a chip. Kyle's been there for 9, has no ring. Okay, so this is fair. How is this an unfair take, though? I want you to look at this and say, what do you say to the fan that looks at what Seattle has done and then rears his head back on Kyle and says, what the fuck have you been doing? This guy came to Seattle and got it done in 2 years. What's the defense for that take, Jesse? Because right now, you would hope that nobody says that right now, but George just kicked us in the dick. So now we got to answer it. But what would you say? What do you think a 49ers defender would say to that take?
That's a disingenuous take. I mean, there's context, guys. Kyle Shanahan's one of the best, brilliant minds in football. I mean, X's and I'll just show you play after play.
You let go of Kyle now. There's 10 teams lining up to hire him.
Burford shouldn't have let Chris Jones through. I mean, what do you want him to do? He's been listen. I don't know what to say to this. That's what they would say. I think it's stupid as hell. I almost said a different word and got canceled. Yeah. I think it's stupid as hell. I'll tell you that right now. But at the same time, like. Kyle has to be replaced. And last offseason was a lot better chance to replace him with a competent coach than this offseason. This offseason, too many teams had openings for you to even have a chance. You were so late to the game. It's all about picking and choosing your opportunity. And there is no guarantee that the next guy's going to be better than Kyle, but I will almost guarantee you most of the guys hired in this cycle have zero chance to be better than Kyle. So you got to, timing matters too. And right now, this offseason was not the right time by any means.
So basically, your defense is, I hear you. It just, now's not the right time.
Now's not the right time, yeah.
Blue Bronco 48 day. I should spend more on the wife or girlfriend. Should I spend more? I don't know. That's between you and God.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know. A Snoop, what is this? A Noops Swamanith, 5957. Super Bowl LX was a disgrace for SF and the 49ers. 12's flying a banner over Golden State. Seattle celebrating in our home locker room. Jed and Kyle managed to lose another Super Bowl without SF even playing. York's got to go. That's a real take. Since we're here to talk about Kyle, is there a world where we look at Jed and we're like, dude, just sell the team?
He ain't. It's not going to happen either. I mean, remember when when Lowell asked him if he would fire himself? That was a pretty good question.
You don't fire owners. Yeah.
I'm the owner of the team, Lowell.
Yeah. KFW 9257, Lomu, Metasaur, and Concepcion. Who are you taking, Concepcion?
Haven't even
KC Concepcion, receiver out of, that's a draft question. I'm taking Concepcion. Yeah. Hey, man, what do you got for the rest of the week, Jess?
I don't even know, bro. It's the off season. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I will tell you this, that the NFC West Roundtable starts in 35 minutes. Normally it's on a Tuesday, but Brandon is going to the Super Bowl parade, which means we got to do it tonight. So show up, 49er
Man,
fans. I don't want to be there alone
man, fuck
celebrating
Brandon. So no,
Seattle's Super
I'm cool. I'm
Bowl.
cool.
No, no, no. He's a
Hey,
Seahawks fan, so yeah, I get it.
it is what it is. Hey, we got Neutral Zone coming up with me and Chunderboy tomorrow. And it's the off season now, so I got to start getting on with some calling shows. I haven't done a calling show all year, so I know those are about to be fire, man. And draft prep. It's time to actually start looking at draft prep and who's on the chopping block, who's ready to get up out of here. So, a lot to talk about. We'll be back at you. Look out for us. This is the coach, Jesse, signing off. Stay low and keep your feet moving. Holla at you guys. Peace.